Grandma and Granddaddy, we want you to pretend like you're sitting at our table with us while we have our third day of Christmas service. We are celebrating the 12 days of Christmas, and each day we have a little Bible reading and prayer. So Suzanne's going to begin. She's just lit the 4 candles in our Advent wreath. You speak into the Grandma and Granddaddy.
Christmas is the celebration of what?
Christmas is the celebration of what, Stephen?
Love, peace.
Say it clearly.
Love, peace.
It's a celebration of Jesus' birthday.
Giving. Yes, of Jesus' long ago birthday. We know Jesus isn't born again as a baby. Jesus comes to us today in different ways. One way is through people.
Now what are you reading from?
1 Corinthians 12:27. Now you are Christ's body, and each of you a limb or organ of it.
Stephen, now where are you reading from?
John 15:15.
Okay.
I do not call you servants any longer, because a servant does not know what his master is doing. Instead, I call you friends, because I have told you everything I heard from my Father.
Okay. Now we're going to sing O Little Town of Bethlehem. Oh,
little town of Bethlehem, how still we see thee lie. Oh, above the deep and dreamless sleep, the silent stars go by. Yet in thy dark street shining, the everlasting light, the hopes and fears of all the years lie met in thee tonight. How silently the wondrous gift is given. So God imparts to human hearts the blessings of his heaven. No ear may hear his coming, but in this world of sin, where meek souls will receive him still, the dear Christ enters in. O holy child of Bethlehem, descend to us, we pray. Cast out our sin and enter in. Be born in us today. We hear the Christmas angel the great glad tidings tell. Oh, come to us, abide with us, our Lord Emmanuel.
Stephen, now you're going to put your hand into my old Christmas stocking, and in it we have written different gifts of love that we're going to give as individuals during the 12 days of Christmas, and Stephen's going to choose one that will be the gift of love for tomorrow. The first one was Stephen wrote a gift of love to someone he didn't know who were the hostages. He sent a Christmas card to the hostages in Iran, and the second day of Christmas, Suzanne's was drawn, and she sent a gift of love to a friend, a letter to Sharon Hormel in Vermont.
I can't tell who this is. Someone I don't know give money in church.
Again.
So, does that mean, Suzanne, you're going to take something of your money to give to
Church on Sunday.
in church on Sunday as an offering?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Stephen, would you read the prayer?
Prayer. Help us, Jesus, to know ourselves as being a part of you. May our thoughts be your thoughts. May our hearts beat the impulse of your love. May our actions be what you would do. Amen.
Amen. Did you write that prayer?
I think so.
Your daughter has written some superb prayers for our Advent services.
Thank you. Okay, now it might be nice to have, well, maybe while we're sitting here by the candlelight would be a good time to share. This is kind of a special New Year's Eve this year because we're leaving the decade of the, what? What decade have we been living in?
1978.
1970s. The decade is 10 years, the 70s. And we're going into a new decade, which is the
1980s.
The 80s, that's right, the 1980s. So it might be interesting for us to, well, I don't know, we could first share some of the things that we liked or didn't like about the 70s, things that we remember maybe particularly.
I remember Stephen being born in 1970.
All right.
That was a good way to start it off.
I remember Daddy batting me with his comb brush on the head. I remember I got hit in the head with that bat.
Oh.
and hitting the ribs with a ball.
Mm-hmm. You had your first experience going to the hospital in the 70s. That's right. Getting your stitches in your head. That's right.
So did I.
What did you have happen in the 70s, Suzanne?
Well, I had a broken collarbone, and I had stitches on my forehead.
Then you had that wire through your finger. Came up running through the stairs, thought you were going to jump off the porch.
Do you remember anything in particular?
Well, we started off by moving to Chicago.
Oh, that's right.
In the
1970.
70s?
Yeah.
1970.
February of 1970, we moved
Arrived
to
here
Chicago.
February 1st, 1970.
Gosh, we've lived all of the 70s in Chicago.
That's right.
It's amazing.
10 years. I think the things that I remember were, I guess, pluses and minuses. One is a kind of a plus minus, and that was the end of the war occurred in the 70s. And war in Vietnam, and then, which was a positive at the end of a negative, I guess. And then the next most memorable thing was, I think, Sadat's initiative in the Middle East, where he went as a peacemaker, and that was outstanding. And then the third thing, again, was a plus and a minus. One was the discovery of the kind of deceit of the Nixon administration, but at the same time, real lifting up of the strength of the Supreme Court and the Congress in the midst of that, and that our nation survived a fairly traumatic event and probably came out the better for it.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, someone said this is not original, but I really think there's a lot of truth to it, that in the 1960s, the protesters of the 1960s yelled against corruption and against the war and against this and that, and people saw them as radicals and leftists and all that. And the 1970s, the decade of the 70s, kind of proved them right. The truth will out, so to speak, and things came to the surface. I mean, I think our nation, it's been a decade of confession, in a way, of
Disclosures.
Of disclosures and of saying, by golly, we really have had corruption and we have done wrong things and we've supported wrong regimes. And so that maybe that's a hope for the 80s, that after one admits to one's guilt and sees one's errors and sin, then maybe there's a chance for new life and for turning around and
Rebirth of
yeah,
the Republic, maybe.
yeah, getting back maybe to some of the real things our nation was born, some of the great values and that it was born in. I hope so. That really would be my hope for the 80s.
Me too.
I'm
I'm interested in what Suzanne and Stephen, what their hopes for the next 10 years. What kind of things would you kind of hope for or look forward to in the next 10 years?
Let's see.
Stephen would be 20
yeah.
at the end of this next decade, and Suzanne would be 22 at the end of this decade. What kind of things do you think are going to happen in the next 10 years for you two?
This will be your
Going
teen
back
years.
and forth to the
Going back and forth to the cabin.
Yeah, that's
Getting a horse.
Getting a horse. I don't know if we told Grandma and Granddad in a letter that Suzanne next summer hopes to be able to rent a horse during the month of August and take care of it. She's going to go to a farm camp this summer to learn how to take care of a horse. We also hope to have water on our land, a well sunk and water coming.
Well, speaking of that, I think that in the 1970s was a big thing personally for you, David, and our family, for us, that we tried something we had never done before in our lives. It was a real...
Tending. Which was a first, and then we also tried building a log cabin. And
the building, yeah. Yeah.
Should I go to bed? That's what I hope for. Stephen to be a little bit more obedient in the 80s.
Aw, man.
See? There he is.
It's Daddy. He's always hitting me for nothing.
It's not for nothing. What else? What would you? Well, Suzanne, you're going to have gone through high school and college in the next 10 years. If you go to college. But in the next 10 years, you will have gone through grade school, high school, and college. Wow.
Oh, Stephen will almost have too. He'll almost, because
He's second year of college.
yeah. Well, no, he would be
He'd be
at
second
age
year.
20, a junior in college.
Junior in college at age 20?
Yeah. He's later in college.
Well, then where do you go?
It's going to be a big decade. Lots of
Things
changes
happening.
and things happening for you kids.
That's right.
By the end of this next decade, basically you will have left home and you'll be basically on your own, out in the big world.
You're crazy. I'm leaving this place. I'm staying right where I am until I have enough money to go somewhere with one of my friends, and I am not leaving them.
What does that mean? The idea that both of you will have graduated from grade school and high school and college. This decade will be what kind of a decade for you two?
Interesting.
Why? What kinds of a lot of your time will be spent doing what?
Going to school.
And what else? If you want to go to college, what are you going to have to do? Not just go to school, but
Get good grades.
which means you're going to have to
Work hard.
study.
What do you two, let's just take a guess. This will be interesting to see. Right now, as you look ahead and think of yourselves going through the rest of your schooling, in 1990, what do you think you will be doing as you leave school? What will you have prepared yourself to do?
College football.
You want to play football in college?
Training horses.
I want to
and-
play professional.
Training horses and or being a jockey.
Do you have to go to college football before you can go to professional? And how many years do you have to go to?
4 years of college,
4 years of football?
4 years of high school football too. But before that, you've got to get good grades to even get into a college to play football, and they're usually even harder.
You can get suspended from football if you don't like it.
Exactly, and they're usually harder on athletes. They expect them to have better grades than the average, or they don't let them play. So that means you're going to have to do some heavy studying too, even to do that.
I gotta tell her all this.
I got to tell her all this. That maybe change your mind.
You want to, speaking of football, tell Grandma and Granddaddy what?
Oh, your Christmas present. That's right.
I got a whole bear suit.
Tell them what a whole bear suit is, though. They don't know, maybe.
A bear's helmet, a bear's jersey, shoulder pads, football pants, football knee pads, and spikes.
What football jersey, though? Not just any old jersey. What jersey?
34.
And
Walter
who-
Payton.
Walter Payton is the star of the Bears.
No, Will McClendon's about as good. He's about as fast, but not as strong.
What did you get for Christmas, Eloise, that you really were excited about?
Well, as a gift, I was very excited about a new French leather purse my husband gave me. It's really the nicest purse I've ever had. It's real leather and so handsome looking, and it just smells so good, and it's
got to be good because it's French instead of
Right.
German.
It's zippy, like nippy. Has zippers on it, and it's really lovely. And
Well, I have to say that my favorite present was a book from my wife called The Culture of Narcissism. But I think there were some special things that happened for me and Eloise, that Suzanne really had a different kind of Christmas. She spent most of her time for, I don't know what, about a month sewing.
Well, I should say, really, I take that back. I mean, that purse I have in my mind because I just used it today and put all my things in it, and I think it's really beautiful. But really, the most meaningful gift, I think, for both of us, in a real way, were the pillows that Suzanne made by hand. Took all the time to go over and sew at a friend's house. Linda Patton taught her how to sew, use the machine. And Suzanne bought all these different materials and made a quilt pillow for both David and me and stuffed it. And we have them on our couch in the living room, and we'll take them to Vermont. But they are so beautiful and really a real accomplishment.
We had pillows made by someone else that weren't half as nice as Suzanne's pillows. Very nice. But Suzanne even said, I mean, you ought to say this, but I heard you say that you were almost more excited this Christmas about giving presents than you were about getting them. Didn't I hear you say this?
Yeah.
And Stephen's grown up a lot. He did extremely well. After a difficult first month or so in school, he has done very well. He got how many hundreds on your spelling test?
3.
3 in a row.
No. 2.
2, and then the one before that was 95 or something like that.
I had 4 about 95.
4 95s and a couple of hundreds. Suzanne had 3 100s in a row, and then kaboom, the bottom fell out. She got a 60.
I had 200s in a row.
Oh.
195 and 160.
But it's been a good.
That's right. Stephen's working very hard on cooperating in school and concentrating. I think that's been the nicest gift that he could give to Mommy and Daddy, was the last week of school, to be able to come home and say, it's been good at school.
That's
And
right.
then-
That was a real gift to us when he turned it around.
And they both made delicious fudge for their teachers and principal at school, and I think they really appreciated that. I'm sure they wanted to do that. I think we need to leave some room on this for the children to play their instruments. We had a recital that Grandma and Granddaddy would love to have been at on Saturday at the church. And I would like both the children to play their piano pieces, and then maybe there'll be time for Suze to play a little violin and Stephen to play a little drum. Okay?
I'm going to play Minuet 1. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
for side 2 for a Christmas sermon and Suzanne's violin. Don't turn this over. Stay tuned for a lovely solo by your darling daughter. All the way, it goes all the way to the end of the tape.
And the music is some that you gave to me, Mother, a few years back. A Christmas song by Mr. Bax.
And so let us freely give as we have so freely received.
We